Hi, welcome to another edition of the ICA Sports and Fitness Science Podcast. Today we are joined by Dr. Brant Winchester. He is from the St. Louis area, and him and I will be getting together in July, but we'll tell you more about that in a second. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Brant. Yeah, my name is Brant Winchester. I have a practice outside St. Louis, Missouri. I work a lot with professional hockey players and professional baseball players, and I've been in practice now 23 years. And my background is I'm on the board for the Motion Palpation Institute, which is a manipulation technique system, and then also DNS. And DNS is going to be one of my focuses for the talk that we have coming up in Dallas.
Yeah, talking about Dallas, that's how we could know each other is because I take care of the AHL Rockford Ice Hogs for 21 seasons, and you said the
Oh,
St.
that's
Louis
amazing.
area. So I imagine you worked
Yeah.
with some of the hockey players in that area. And we're part of a group. It's called the Pro Hockey Chiropractic Society, and they have a huge conference coming up. You talk a little bit about that going on. You know how much you know about what's going on down there.
Yeah, I'm always excited to be a part with whatever Alan's cooked up. And we're talking about different cities, and Dallas made a whole lot of sense for a lot of different reasons. Parker's obviously right there. The Stars are there, of course. Troy Van Biesen's there. So it just made a lot of sense. And through Parker and other organizations, I've been in and out of Dallas quite a bit throughout my career. And it's a beautiful place to host a seminar. A lot of good social events. I think the venue is going to be unbelievable. I know part of it's going to be at the Dallas Stars facility. I think maybe the other part is going to actually be at Parker, and it promises to be just a great overall event.
I went to the one in Chicago, and I also went to the one in Nashville. And I got to tell you, if you're on the fence about coming to this conference, you are right where the players are sitting. You're going to be by all their stuff. And I know in Nashville, we're actually in the Predators locker room. And in Chicago, we did a whole tour of the practice facility, got to see where they all work out. And Dr. Malley was in there fixing everyone's shoulders and elbows and wrists. So this one in Dallas should sound pretty cool. The same experience. So you're going to be one of our presenters down there, and I was just curious if you could give us a little insight or a little preview of maybe what you're going to be talking about while we're down there.
Yeah, so one of my focuses is going to be like a multimodal approach for the hockey athlete, how we combine rehab techniques with manipulation, with soft tissue. In saying that, kind of one of the overreaching themes will be how we use the principles of dynamic neuromuscular stabilization with the hockey athlete. So there's a lot of implications with skating and shooting, and really the slap shot or the snapshot. A lot of the mechanics are real similar to the golf swing. So one of our jobs as a chiropractor to make sure that our athlete's body are able to get full expression of motion. And when we do have full expression of motion, also being sure that our central nervous system is able to control these ranges of motion. And that's where I think manipulation and DNS and everything that a lot of the people that are going to be there already know, when that's all combined together, you are really creating the gold standard for what we want out of not just our hockey athletes, but our athletes in general. So I think a lot of times people understand this, but sometimes it's helpful to see exactly how it's being integrated on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, talking about the stabilization, I learned a lot about that, even working with the strongman games, because these guys want to
Yeah.
go out and they want to carry cars and throw boulders over their head. And the last thing they want to do is be put on their side and aggressive twisting and overdo the stress receptors. They tend to do really good with the quick, short level adjustments. And I brought that back from there to my hockey team. And we had a guy who his right glutes were not firing at all. And I was able to give this chiropractic adjustment, and the athletic trainers on our team took the player around the corner because they couldn't believe what I just did. And I had an intern, and she watched them recheck everything because they were just like, "I can't believe that just happened." So I'm sure you got a
Yeah.
thousand of those stories.
Yeah, I just think too, it's helpful, like with stories like that, and like you did, you got to be able to establish a baseline first. So if we don't know how to assess our hockey players, then the treatment becomes a little bit more complicated. So I think even if our hockey players didn't have a mouth and they weren't able to verbalize subjectively what their pain is, arming our clinicians with tools to be able to assess well, that way we know how to not just get our athletes out of pain, but also know how to improve performance, which I think for the contemporary chiropractor, that's the way or the future. And hopefully getting away from just, oh, the chiropractor works on the bad back. Well, we all have tools to help with all kinds of soft tissue injuries, stabilization problem, and then diagnoses, and then of course back pain and things like that. But we have a skill set that is unique to all the other disciplines, I feel. And no one's in a better position than a chiropractor for a portal of entry for a treatment of the professional hockey player.
Not only that, I love what you talked about having the examination too to establish the baseline of the player. Because if we could adapt one of those and the player goes from Rockford to St. Louis, then when they see me, when they see you, it doesn't always have to be a completely new foreign experience as you go chiropractor to chiropractor. And that's one of the things our group's trying to simulate is a standard of measurements and looking at people so that way it's not always a new experience. And I'm excited to hear how you do it and maybe how somebody else does it and start putting that stuff together. I'm sure you would agree with me on that.
Yeah, I think my focus has definitely been with baseball and hockey, but I feel like these societies that you guys are getting together here, they do a really good job of that. And I feel like there's no turf wars. I feel like everyone's really confident with getting other opinions and passing the players around. Obviously, they're moving from different cities, and that's really important for the profession that we're good at doing that. And I think they've done a great job of doing that, really.
So this would be a great event to attend if you were wanting to get into the world of hockey or baseball, the other sports, going to these conferences and meeting these chiropractors and getting to see hands-on and talk to people. I don't know about you, but the first time I went and got to work with other hockey chiropractors, I had more questions about when do you get to the game? What kind of access do you have to the players? Even more so
Yeah.
about care. That's a neat part of it too, right?
Yeah, and I think, and I'm sure, I know you're getting the same question too. What most, especially the younger clinicians, want to know is how do you get involved with a team? And, what I tell everyone is you got to start with the person that's in front of you. So you got to get a great result with the Little League hockey player before you even start the conversation of working with a professional hockey player. So you got to have the tools and you got to understand the lingo. And one thing that did surprise me a little bit, I have an intern right now who's from Canada, like they're enamored with being in the locker room, and one of our sessions is actually going to be in the training room at the Dallas Stars facility. So I just think it's such, if you love hockey, it's just such a great, as you were mentioning before, access to just a lot of cool things if you're into pro hockey.
I was teased that my father's a chiropractor, and I was always told if you stay under chiropractic care, you should get these great abilities and great skills. And I said, I never quite made it on the into the Division I football and all that stuff like I thought I was gonna because of my dad being a chiropractor. But being involved in sports chiropractic, I get to go in the locker room still. When our team won the championship, I got a championship ring. I didn't get hurt like the hockey players like earning those rings.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, now we get to live vicariously through them. So you might not be able to play pro hockey or baseball at this point in your career, obviously, but you get to be around it. And I think that now, where it used to be an outlier for the players that were seeing chiropractors, it was like the best kept secret. But now I can't think of one professional baseball player or hockey player who doesn't have a chiropractor or multiple chiropractors that are involved in their treatment. So it's changed a lot in my career, and I'm sure your career too, where now they're looking for it. We don't have to convince them of it. They're looking for the services that we're offering.
And again, if you're not part of a team or you don't even know how to get your foot in the door working with a team, this is a great conference to go to. Just sitting down at breakfast or lunch with everybody, you get to ask questions and pick brains. There's usually probably about 40 or 50 of us there to ask questions to. I know in my office, two of us are coming, so it's a great event for that. So really, if you're on the fence about coming, I really recommend coming and checking it out. I always finish up here with these podcasts asking my guests if they have any other final comments or thoughts they'd like to share. So I'll go ahead and ask you the same question I ask everybody else.
Yeah, I just think, just not to plug another seminar, but I do think this one's going to be special just because I think it's an eclectic group. If you look at the different speakers, I feel like it's people with a little bit different background. And the magic that always happens in these seminars is when you put them all together in the same room, then you really get some unique conversations that you wouldn't get if you weren't there. And I feel like you said, what I tell my interns is life is a tryout. The first step is showing up. You got to show up and be around the people that are working with the players. And then who knows? Everyone's always looking for associates and stuff like that. It's just a really good time to get to meet some people, and it's always fun. Besides, you're going to learn a lot. I just think it's going to be a really cool, unique opportunity to be at the facility and those things.
Awesome. It is. I highly stress showing up for it. And I want to thank you for joining our podcast today and jumping in here and talking to everybody, get everybody a little excited about working with pro athletes. One more topic I'll just quickly talk about too. If you're on the fence about working with a pro athlete, it doesn't matter the sport. I've always found there's a way to talk to athletes compared to a grandma that comes in your office because the athlete, their only asset they have in life is their body because they've invested everything they have, their time, their energy, everything, all their focus has been making their body a finely tuned machine. And there's a skill to that. Would you agree with me on that? Be able to talk to an athlete?
Oh, 100%. They're, whether they will admit it or not, because they're a professional athlete, they're a Ferrari. And the chiropractor has so many tools to allow them to perform like a Ferrari does. If you're 60-year-old, nothing's wrong with a Ford Escort, but it's just a little bit, it's a different beast. Yeah, so you're working with Ferraris, and our job is to make sure they can perform like a Ferrari.
Awesome. This will be, as you can't tell by our excitement, it's going to be a great weekend. Go to the Pro Hockey Chiropractic Society's website, get all the information on it. It's the weekend after the 4th of July down in Dallas, Texas, and we look forward to hopefully meeting you there. I want to
Yeah.
thank you for joining us today and appreciate you jumping on here real quick with us. And I'll tell everybody, hope to see you in Dallas.
Thanks, Brant. Yeah, great to finally meet you, and thanks to Alan for all the work he does. And it's going to be a great event. Hope to see you there.
All right. Goodbye.